Abend.
Bonsoir.
Yeah, long time no pre-order titles, right?
Yeah, not long time no see, but long time no pre-orders, and yeah, a little, almost 3 months, like 2 months and a half now.
Really, that long? Yeah, we did
Yeah.
one this year so far. Yeah.
Yeah, we did the one around I think the 13th of January or something like that.
In that area, yeah. Yeah, but big changes, good changes, I think, because from this video, from this live stream on, we will present links to the record Stunty and me just talked about. And those links are affiliate links from Stunty. So Stunty is now a proud affiliate partner of Juno. So this is, of course, a perfect way of supporting, because if you use affiliate links, you don't have any disadvantages. The only advantage is that you can support Stunty for all this work he puts into this pre-orders. And maybe Stunty explain something about Juno, why we choose Juno to do this.
So honestly, the affiliate, well, it's a bonus, but the thing was that we really wanted to present everything on the same place, because okay, so I'm a customer of all the sites because I just go where it makes more sense. But I realized recently that since Brexit, a lot of things have changed for the worse for the most part, and some have adapted very well and some have adapted much less so. Turns out that Juno, which already is interesting because they usually have the biggest stock, they usually have competitive prices, not on everything, but on 95% of the things. But they are the ones who have the most amount of releases and the most quantity. But one thing that is, in my opinion, the game changer is in 3 parts. First part is that they are the only one in Europe who, if you order from the UK to Europe, no custom charges. Like you pay VAT, but there's no additional charges because they do it professionally. They do the right paper filling with the custom, so there's no surprises. But the real game changer is that if you look at the prices on Juno, these are the prices for the UK. If then you look at the prices for the same releases for the country of destination outside of the UK, they will always be lower because they have already adjusted the prices for foreign customers, taking out VAT, so that when it's being added, it's not added twice like it is everywhere where no one is telling you that.
Oh, in my shop, I do the same, by the way, vice versa. But okay, it's called, you can, it's easy. It's called one-step shop.
Exactly. Most shops don't do that because it's more like, I mean, you have also to have a website that adjusts the prices automatically, which is a nightmare. But like Juno is so big.
But you have to know have the technical knowledge. You have tools for this. The record stores are just too lazy.
Yeah, and so when you order from them and you look at the shipping costs, it might look high, but in the end, you're still winning because the prices are much lower for 95% of everything. So that's why I thought, like, if we are going to give you links from one place, that's the best place. So we talk with them, and we're doing affiliates, but that's not the main thing. But still, there's tons of work behind this. Like since last time, of course, I wasn't even sure if we could make it in time for the hour we decided today, and I'm pretty happy with what we're gonna talk about.
Quite some titles, right? Quite some.
Some pretty special stuff as usual. I mean, we had time, but that means also with more time comes more stuff to process, to go through, and to find. This time also, while we talk about one release, Michael will put in the chat the name of the release, the link for ordering.
Yours, I will put in the video, and I will put during the stream. I will put the order link in the chat, the affiliate link from Stunty, and after the video, I will put all those links in the video description.
And also, I added some releases have audio clips for every track on the ordering link. When it's a pre-order, when the tracks are not available yet, I've looked up the best way I could, and I added a link for a YouTube clip,
Cool.
a Bandcamp digital, because sometimes the Bandcamp doesn't even have yet the vinyl release, but it was originally released on cassette, so I found an old link so you will be able to at least sample a little bit of everything. And you can still help us with the coffee jar tipping if you are happy and thankful for what we're gonna offer you. Yeah,
let's go. Click.
Natural Information Society, which is a band from the US who have collaborated with lots of people, including Bichin Barras, who we love here.
Yes.
And they did a collaboration album with Bichin Barras that was pretty good. Natural Information Society is a bigger band. I think that someone we're going to talk about later on in this stream is collaborating often with them if he's not even part of the band. They've had a few albums before. This is the first one that I'm full in. Before that, I thought it's interesting, but there was something a little bit either precious or contrived in the music that made me enjoy it for what it was, but not no wow factor. This one finally gives me the wow factor. And this is like jazz, post-rock, but mostly jazz, but highly influenced by stuff like Terry Riley, minimalism, but with lots of lush, very melodic, very joyous music. And it's coming out, I believe, in April.
I can't say anything to this title. No idea. Aguirre is the label, or
Aguirre, yeah, which is a great label.
Not the Werner Herzog movie. Okay.
Yeah, but we've talked about. You probably have some records of theirs. It's one of the really good labels of modern music. I think they're from Italy. I'm not sure, Germany or Italy. Yeah, exactly, Jose. Harry Brown. Yeah, and there's lots of horns, but really lush music, but also lots of stuff happening. Contrast, tension, and but really a general sense of beauty. Sorry, I'm getting hiccups.
No problem. Take your time. Okay, title number 1. Let's go for the second one. This tells us a little bit more, I can imagine.
So this was originally released as a CD, I think 10 years ago, 11 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
And that was after Blemish, David Sylvian, when he heard Stephan Mathieu, he thought, this is the next thing I need to do. I think there's one track featuring also Finesse on this, but it's David Sylvian, who we know from Japan and from his amazing art pop, indie art pop, ambient stuff with Stephan Mathieu, who was one of the very best German click and cuts ambient producers, who in the past 5 years has more shifted towards mixing and sound engineering and mastering. And he's, in my opinion, probably the best mastering engineer that is not the old guard. And this is wonderful. And it also features, I think, one track that was a quite long track that was unreleased, that was not in the original release.
And we're talking first time on vinyl here, right?
First time on vinyl, and probably only.
Yeah. Amazing. I mean, as you said, this Stephan Mathieu is fantastic. Fantastic. Maybe I even like him more than David Sylvian, but this is probably, no, not more, but he's an amazing artist.
I mean, yeah, I love David Sylvian. There's a few things in David Sylvian I'm not a fan of. That is not in there, so that's the best of both worlds for me.
Comes out, thanks Manfred, at the 21st of April.
Yeah, I didn't put the release dates, but like just so you know, a few releases have come out since we did a stream last time that I thought like this is a must-have and that no one is talking about, or is coming out in the next 6 weeks.
Yeah, this is an intro. Is it a companion piece to Blemish?
In a way, it is, and in David Sylvian's mind, it was. That was his intention of what am I going to do next, and there was, I think, a remix album of Blemish that was only digital, and Stephan Mathieu was one of them. But I think you can find easily interviews with David Sylvian where he talks about how he discovered Stephan Mathieu and how it kind of like opened a door for him, like it unlocked a door.
Okay, give me a second. I'm copying right now. Bad timing. I'm sorry. Let's go right away to the next title. We have so many today.
Yeah. Eden Ahbez is a huge name in American music from the 50s, 60s, and even 70s. He's probably the first hippie. Certainly the first hippie who was a big shot in the music industry. He wrote songs for others, arranged for others. He did one album under his name that is a cult album of pastoral, folk, hippie music. That is amazing. This is a compilation of demos from that and tracks from others that he produced or wrote. Some rehearsals. This was already released a few years ago, but this is the final. This just was released and is an extended version of that, featuring everything they didn't have the rights back then to put in this one. And just so you know,
you said you wrote songs for other musicians. Any very famous ones?
Nat King Cole.
That's okay.
Yeah. There's actually the tracks you will have on the Discord, on the Juno link here is not complete. It's on the 15 tracks instead of the 16, but like I've pre-ordered that a long time ago. It's this is like timeless music. Like beautiful arrangements, classic music. Basically, it could sound a little bit like Moondog, like a mixture of Moondog and the most hippie version of the Beach Boys, in a way.
Cool.
Yeah.
Is this a very limited release, or
it's a small label, and they have the rights for that? I checked everything, and I'm pretty sure that there's no bootlegs because there's an upcoming record we're going to talk about that I was not sure, and I looked it up, and it's not. This is not a bootleg. This is the guy is long dead, so it's a theme compilation of the stuff that was not on his album that is by him. Sorry, what was the question again, Michael?
Yeah, we started with if it's a limited release or if it's out there for quite some time, but you said already answered it's a very small label, and usually they are careful with the first releases.
Yeah, it's the first. I mean, they already were the one who released it a few years ago, but this, which I consider the ultimate complete version of that, that's the first pressing of it. There's two colors. There's a color variant, but like you'll find it if you want. But it's I don't think they said how many there was, but it's probably 500.
Yeah, and that I guess. Yeah.
Because
Number 4.
he's a huge name.
Sorry.
Exactly. Josiah Steinbrick, who has done stuff with Natural Information Society. Josiah Steinbrick is a instrumentist, musician, who does modular synthesis, piano, guitar, everything. And on this record, he mostly plays the piano and keyboards. There are some tracks which features Sam Gendel on saxophone and wind instruments. It's just beautiful. It's Unseen Forces is a small label. Usually these records tend to go up in price fairly high. This is music, I would say, has a classic feeling, not necessarily classic music feeling, but a general sense of classic music, timeless, despite being left field in a way. But it is very melodic again, and as you can see, the artwork is also pretty indicative of the kind of music you're getting, in my opinion. But there's only one track that they have revealed yet, 2 tracks, and I think I linked to them on the link that, exactly, with what Michael pasted.
Okay.
This record is insane. This record was released on CD last year. Ephemeron Loop. I know nothing of this. Apart from, this is the missing link between Cocteau Twins and Napalm Death.
Okay. So, more Napalm Death or more Cocteau Twins? That's the question now.
It's actually kind of even. So it's kind of grindcore heavy metal mixed with dream pop, ambient dream pop, very
That's
lush
amazing.
again.
Sounds amazing, yeah.
And if some of you know about this insane band from Nigeria called Duma, which was like an industrial grindcore band, it's kind of that kind of. It's not the most like crusty punk Napalm Death. It's more like the more like grindcore industrial Napalm Death. But like the combination on the paper is like, what the hell? And when you listen to it, it's so powerful. And really good that I think, as you see, this was released as a CD, and they thought like, this is so good, so special. We need to do a sort of vinyl release of this.
When you say Napalm Death and Cocteau Twins, female vocals, male vocals?
Female vocals. Female vocals. And this is I think not gonna be a huge pressing. This is potentially gonna be one of these hip records that people wake up to 6 months too late. But it's coming out next week.
Cool. Well, that's hot,
I think.
Number 6, Alberto Lizarralde.
This is folk music from the Basque country.
Okay.
From the early mid-80s, that was only released as cassette, if even. I'm not sure. I don't remember if it was released or if it's an archival recording. But it is, I think, from 84 or something like that. And it's folk music, very deep, but which also uses electronic instruments. And it's very eerie, lots of really interesting singing, very beautiful voice, deep male voice, and it sounds like nothing you've heard before, or unless you go really the uncharted roads.
He's a Basque from Interesting. And he sings in what is the language called?
It's a language which is between Spanish and French, but neither. Closer to Spanish in a way, but not Spanish. Really.
I've heard that the most nearest language is Hungarian.
there is a connection to Hungarian apparently, which makes sense in my opinion, since like the people who follow me, you know that I have an obsession with Hungarian folk music, traditional folk music, and this is also, when I say folk, I mean traditional folk music, but maybe also through the spectrum, like John Hassel is doing traditional music of somewhere that never really existed, the fourth world. This is Basque traditional folk, but also in a way that like the Basque identity is, it's not a country, it's not an official country, so they kind of can decide for themselves what it's going to be.
So this has a limited run of 300 copies.
Yeah. So
okay, now you're talking. Now you're talking.
Yeah, finally a new Alvanotto album.
Yes.
It's a double album. It's coming out pretty soon. I think you can have all the tracks. You can sample all the tracks in the link, in the Juno link. And for me, it's his best album since the volume 3, of his 4-volume series.
Volume 3 of Xerox, you mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
He has, the Alvanotto has two different series, Xerox and can't remember the other one, but those are two. One is more electro dance stuff, and this Xerox is more ambient.
Xerox is him, in my opinion, it's him doing Alvanotto doing Vangelis.
Yeah.
Like, if you like the soundtrack,
early Vangelis.
Yeah, I mean, if you look
not Chariots of Fire Vangelis.
No, but well, it's, if you think of the soundtrack of Blade Runner, that's the kind of Vangelis we're talking about. And this one is closer to that, but it's also more, I would say, song orientated. Not that there is any singing on it, but the tracks are less conceptual, I would say. And yeah, they it's more an album that is a collection of tracks, songs that have melodies, and it's
but
it's
you know that Alvanotto did an album with singing, right? You know that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And we and we talked about 2 editions ago of this series about this EP he did with Martin Gore and William Basinski, with the cover of David Bowie,
which is still such an amazing combination. Martin Gore, Alvanotto, and Basinski.
Yeah.
Nothing you would expect, right?
Well, when you think about it, it's kind of logical, but still, yeah.
It fits, but it's still a surprise. Okay, now for something completely different in a way, right? Don Cherry.
Yeah. This is the only reissue we're talking about that was already issued on vinyl.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the original. Came out on Sonnet, UK. This is a live. Well, the title is self-telling. Trading Place is a label that who's reissuing this for the first time since 1980. This was released 2 times, in 78 and 1980, but the pressing from 80, you don't want to listen to that. The Trading Places, they do all kinds of like prog, jazz, rare stuff. They have research, and they license the tracks, and they also do they do good quality, actually. In the beginning, it was so when they started like 3-4 years ago, and now all the reviews I've read about their recent releases were like really, really high quality
and extremely beautiful cover art.
Yeah. The original had two covers, like the same, this one and the one you have on screen. It was just color variants. Yeah, and this is so this features Don Cherry with Turkish musicians, the most famous being Oke Temiz, who's a star. The other ones I'm less familiar with. but you have Don Cherry on trumpet, Zurna, piano, vocal, flute. You have a bass player, Oketemiz on drums and percussion, and Irfan Sumer on percussion and tenor saxophone. And this was this was recorded at the U.S. Embassy in Ankara, Turkey.
Okay, nice one. The Purge of Tomorrow, Shackleton, yes.
Shackleton is, in my opinion, probably the top 5 most interesting electronic music producers that emerged in the 2000s. He ran and the label Skull Disco, which was a very specific brand of dubstep, which sounded most like Muslim Goes doing proper dance floor music, but sounding like Muslim Goes. And over the years, Sam from Shackleton, his music has become increasingly artsy. He collaborated with people from Coil, people from ballet, opera singers, etc. And his music has become more abstract under the name Shackleton. This is a new alias of him, The Purge of Tomorrow, a great name, by the way, which is him going, he says, in a new direction, but for me, it's him going back a little bit to the natural continuation of what made Shackleton really special back then, rather than experimenting with collaborators, which sometimes changes his music to the point that it's not Shackleton anymore. This is still Shackleton. Less drums than usual, but you have drums, less drum heavy, I would say, but absolutely mesmerizing. It's 2 long sides. Well, they've only revealed one. The first time I listened to it, I was a little underwhelmed because I listened to it casually, and then I listened to it with some focus, and
and of course you have no other choice. You listen to it digitally on the internet.
It's not out yet.
So yeah, exactly. But on vinyl, it's always a different ball game with those kind of titles.
Yeah.
It's
and again, Modern Obscure, we talked about.
Santi, help me out here. Yeah. But it's quite some time that Shackleton had put out a complete album, right? So
no, he put one a year ago.
He did? I thought it was only a 12-inch.
Okay. No, it was a double album.
Okay.
Was it under the name of Shackleton? He put out something, maybe not under the name Shackleton, actually. But last year, there was a double album that was interesting. Not fully satisfying, but still interesting. This one is, in my opinion, more directly appealing to me.
Attila Szihar.
Yeah. Attila Szihar is well known by metalheads as the singer of Mayhem. So basically, probably the biggest name in modern extreme metal because of extreme singing techniques.
Yeah.
The guy, Attila Szihar, is a very interesting guy. He's actually, I think he's from Hungary. And he does dub music as well. He has a long-lasting fascination with dub, and he just released an album of reggae dub, despite him being featured on countless extreme metal albums. But this is a very special project for him, as he has a fascination with a painter from Hungary who did that painting, which is not necessarily totally representative of his art, but this presents a rune, and Attila has also a fascination with the Baalbek runes in Lebanon, which is probably one of the oldest urban civilization known to men. And he spent lots of time there, and over 5 years he developed this whole concept with this throat singing. Yeah. So this album sounds a little bit like Mongolian or Tibetan throat singing, but with lots of post-production, editing and how do you call that, overdubbing, and it's an actual great piece of modern music that is timeless, but timeless in a very extended fashion. And the package is beautiful. There's a huge booklet with like the whole story, essays about it, pictures of the place. It's a very nice artifact with very unique music.
Cool. So that was that, and now something completely different.
Well, yeah. So Brian Eno defined for most people and for the mainstream the concept of ambient with his albums Discrete Music and Music for Airports, which were done with synthesizers and yeah. And this is interesting. This is an ensemble, the Daedalus Ensemble, who actually performed. It's a 12-piece ensemble who performed acoustically these pieces, which is the first time it's ever been done. And
Eno was involved, right?
He totally. It was their project, and then he blessed it, and absolutely. And so yeah, it's quite a huge album.
You know, when I read the label Sub Rosa, this is a blind buy. You know, when something comes out from Sub Rosa, you can try that.
They've become increasingly good. Sub Rosa has been around since the mid '80s, and they were doing concepts. And now it's not that much that they have a real strong art direction where they actually develop artists, but they will find projects there. So. Yeah. It's the best kind of cynical.
Sub Rosa, Editions Mego, always. Yeah, you can always go for this stuff. Yeah.
So if you like Brian Eno and you want to have a more acoustic experience of that, it's not just that. It's not a gimmick. It's actually revealing a lot of aspect of his music, because there was a lot of care and thinking behind the choice of instruments being used. And it's one guy who really had the...
Where do I know the Daedalus Ensemble? Not from ECM, right? No.
I think you're mixing up with something else, but there is something ECM related, but I think it's a different ensemble. This
I'm not talking the Hillard ensemble.
No, of course.
But I know Daedalus Ensemble.
There is something that sounded familiar to me as well. That is ECM or non-such related, but this is different. This is an ensemble from the south of France, I think, or Italy. I'm not sure, but this is their first release on vinyl, at least. Bang on the Can, yeah, Rosé, but Bang on the Can uses electronics. It's not just. This is a proper classical music ensemble. Now, something totally acoustical as well, Alfarez Group, which is a band. I don't know if they're Palestinian or if they're from Iraq. I know they travel around between Lebanon, Iraq, Palestine, and Germany. This is music that was recorded, I think, in '87 and was never released. Of folk music from that region, very melodic, almost to the point that you would, it's like global music, of course, but there is a craft.
You're avoiding the term world music?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's been. We didn't wait for David Toop for that, but he certainly has it right. This is. This is music that that also has, I would say, probably a political subtext, but not overtly. It is just beautiful folk music, and you have to remember, most folk music is actually telling tragic stories. So there you go.
And yet another jacket.
This is the first time these guys ever had anything released on vinyl, but they have had CDs because they've become really well regarded in that field of music since then.
Majaz Project, you know this label? I haven't heard of them.
No. No,
me neither. Okay.
I think I looked it up, and they've had some releases before, but I didn't know about them before.
But this we do know, right?
This craves explanation. Soundwalk Collective is a trio of artists, DJs, producers, musicians who have they must have good contacts, because they've done a lot of records with great names, lots of records with Patti Smith, with figures also outside of music, but deeply connected to the art world. This is a record. This is the soundtrack to a movie documentary about the opioid crisis in the U.S. made by Nan Golding, the famous photograph artist. And this is choir music. This movie won a big prize at the Venice Mostra Festival last year. And so most of the music is a choir, female choir music with some strings, and some tracks have Nan Golding reciting the story, and the combination of the two, her deep, like really old voice with this, I get goosebumps just thinking about it. I put one excerpt of it, a YouTube excerpt. It's one of the tracks without her. Trust me, I've listened to the whole thing, but there's no links. I got like a promotional, professional link. The tracks with her reciting are out of this world. And at first I was like, oh, this is interesting, but been there, done that. And no, this is really, really good avant-garde choir, vocal choir music with like a very dramatic and beautiful inner world that unfolds through the voice of Nan Golding.
Next one.
Flatty is electronic music. I think he has 3 or 4 albums before that one. One that really appealed to me. I think he's Russian. I'm not sure if he's well. I think he's from St. Petersburg, but I don't know if he lives there still. He was part of a collective of pretty good musicians, and this record is he's going in a quite different direction, this is basically almost like an hypnagogic version of R&B. It is basically, imagine William Basinski or The Caretaker doing James Blake, or doing Burial. And it's kind of what that is, and it is quite surprising. I think I might have it wrong. It might be a double LP. I'm not sure, but there's a lot of songs on this, and going.
And again, the label Ghostzwug. No idea. Never
I think it's the name of his collective. So it's probably more or less self-released. Maybe he got a distribution deal so that it was advanced. The costs were advanced by a shop or a distributor, and they had to come up with a name for the label. So it's the name of his collective.
Very interesting release, in my opinion. One of the most interesting, in my opinion.
Well, it is one of these things that will totally fall under the radar, but that it's a beautiful record.
ESP Summer.
Indie. This is a treasure. This was originally released on CD in 1994 on a label that is very dear to me, which is Carina Square. Carina Square is the label of a French band called Carmine, whose drummer is the guy who runs Le Souffle Continu. But this was released on their label because they were friends, and then it was released in 95 on a UK label, because this is Ian Masters from the Pale Saints, one of the greatest indie bands of the late 80s, early 90s, with probably the most unique voice of the whole UK indie scene. His voice is He's the voice of an angel. I don't know how to describe it.
You
It's
played him on your stream lately,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Yeah, he has a few projects, and this is really guitar, voice, bass, some drums. This is really not complicated. Very simple indie folk rock, but with the voice of Jan Masters. And just because of that, like, there's not enough records of his in the world. And this was one of these records that when you go on Discogs and you find topics of lists of like records I wish existed on vinyl, this is a record that has been named by many people. And it's finally
so you will get it, Santi, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Max Walden. Yeah. I don't know much about him. I have an album of his that I haven't received yet after 2 years because it's blocked somewhere. And he, if you guys like Eli Kessler, it's not like Eli Kessler is a drummer who does like really insane drumming.
I don't know when was this one record? It was the album of the year. It was
yeah.
What was the name?
And he sounds a bit like Square Pusher, but like as a jazz drummer. But there's tons of electronics around that, and this sounds like everything that Eli Kessler has around.
And this a strangely isolated place is also a wonderful label. They do beautiful, electronic ambient mostly editions.
Yeah, it's easy to categorize that as ambient because it doesn't have drums or not rhythms. There are drums, and you say so because it uses electronics, but it's in reality it's just music. It's pure music. Like all the tracks are different. It's not at all techno or house or anything like that. It is just free-form progressive music made through the use of electronic instruments.
Yeah, this, as I said, this strangely isolated place label has really put out some fantastic recording, and always very innovative when it comes to the colored vinyl. Quite some very special releases they did over the years.
Kersiel Jaeger is the alias of François Bonnet, who is the director of the GRM in Paris, of the Groupe de Recherche Musicale, the musical research group where Musique Concrète was founded. And he's an interesting guy. I'm not sold on most of his records. This one comes out on Shelter Press, the great French label of global music. And this is the first album of his that I'm full in as well. This is beautiful melodies, beautiful textures, tones, incredible mixing, incredible sound design. And I mean, he has the means. He's in the best place in the world to have access to these instruments and these techniques and these tools. And for years, I thought that he didn't really deliver fully. And on this one, he does. And he had a few albums on Édition Mégot, but this one is on a relatively smaller label. But man, like I understand why.
Shelter Press is very well known. It's,
yeah,
but okay, smaller than Editions Mégot probably.
But it's a French label, so I guess that there is something that he gave them something pretty special. And I can't wait to get this because this reconnects me with this guy in a major way.
Okay. 3 to go.
Tin Man is known for his acid house of the early mid 2000s. He was released originally on Pansonic's label. The name escapes me now. Sacco, on an offshoot label of Sacco, and these records were amazing, and they are very collectible now. But something happened to him by the end of the 2000s, where he started to do records where he was kind of doing a weird, like Balearic crooner thing, like ambient Sinatra in a way. And it was actually very good. And so suddenly he was not just a dance act. And then he started to, in my opinion, lose himself a little bit, do projects that had not necessarily a very strong direction. And he's been a little bit on the low of recent. And this is his comeback album on Bureau B. And there's a reason why it's on Bureau B, because this is pure prog krautrock. This sounds like a Klaus Schulze album, but no, it doesn't sound like a Klaus Schulze album, but it is Tillman doing what Klaus Schulze was doing when he was not doing Tangerine Dream. And there's not much that has been revealed about it, but the little I've heard of it is pretty exciting. I'm really looking forward him, because I know that this guy he's a great musician. He's half from California and from Finland, and I've interviewed him a long time ago, and he was a very reflective person who was like everything he was doing, there was a reason for that. Yeah. And so I'll be discovering this. I won't look too deep into it before I get to listen to it fully.
Cool. Bureau B.
Yeah.
Eomak.
Oh yeah, Nathaniel Mars noted something I completely. I'm like the ESP Summers is also with War and the Fever from this other 4AD band called you have to help us again, Nathaniel. Yeah, it's a great like art rock indie band. Eomak is a techno producer who does some of the scariest techno, like Halloween and like creepy techno. And how does he achieve that? Because he's a great sound designer. This album is an album made solely out of water. All the sounds are coming from water events.
Water tracks.
Yeah,
that's an amazing idea.
Water. And so he uses water field recordings of water to create rhythms, textures, ambience. Some tracks are rhythmic, some tracks are ambient, some tracks are melodic, because he actually managed to tone the water. And so it's a very conceptual album, but that is actually not difficult at all to get into, because there
still has its rhythm and its appeal, right?
Yeah, and there's also like an almost, I would say, the concept is almost fun, even if he takes it seriously. But there's something that even if you're not familiar or with this kind of music, you will recognize the sound, and so it's playful. There's a playful concept.
So the last title for the evening.
Yeah, and Nathaniel, His Name Is Alive is the band, of course. Thank you, Nathaniel.
Oh, wait, I have to go here. Sorry.
Yes, so this is, in a way, the most classic album, even if it comes from the least classic direction. This is a new alias of a guy called Shunji Mori, who used to do like acid jazz, jazzy house in the 90s. And this is on Studio Mool, which is a Japanese label of deep house, but this is not deep house at all. This is like an ECM guitar record. Yeah. This sounds actually like a great Bill Frisell album from the early 80s. This is absolutely phenomenal. It adds textures and like electronic soundscapes very subtly, with great taste. And the more you go into the album, the less, the more it gets into raw guitar, just the guitar. So there's like there's really a journey between 12 tracks where the guitar is first used as sound, then as an instrument cohabitating with others, and in the third part as pure like guitar music. And it's the guy was in a duo in folk duo as well. He's a great musician. Like his technique is impeccable, but he also knows how to just play between the notes, between the keys, so that there is room and breathing. And yeah, it's the kind of records that you would want. You would be so excited if ECM still release the records like that.
Yeah,
I mean, they do good stuff still, but
they still do good stuff. Yeah, I've got a bunch last week. Amazing titles. Yeah, I totally get that. And yeah, Stanti, 20 titles, quite some highlights. Now I have to choose. Now I hope there are still some available.
Well, most of them are
no, go.
Most of them are pre-orders. Like I think there's only there's maybe 4 or 5 who have already been released. All the others are still coming. So you really get an edge today to get them if that sounds interesting. And again, like Michael is going to put everything again in the description now. Plus the playlist, which amounts in the same, but you will get with each title under it, either you have the audio clips in the order links, or I put a link if there's nothing, a link of something, so you can at least get one idea or more of the content and how it sounds. So if you know nothing of these records, please don't be afraid. And that's what we do with these pre-orders. We love classic music and the big artists as well. It's just this, the function of this is really to put a highlight on
and what you do is so amazing that you put out the essence of so many titles. Some, if you're into it, there are 20, 30, 40 titles every day.
More than that.
Yeah, or even more than that. Yeah. It's unbelievable. And put out the essence, that's quite something, and that's invaluable.
Yeah, and to get to all of these, to get to 20 records, I'm really excited about. I had to go through thousands of records that almost put me in depression.
That bad this time? Yeah. Now, from now on, we will do it after you solved this some things. We will do it every month now, right?
Yeah. There like maybe not 20 titles every single time, maybe 12 or 15. But
we can take more time for each title. That sometimes makes
because
sense.
As I had like between December and January, I had COVID, and then I had family matters. There's so much that if you don't do the work every day, you get behind. And I'm so behind. I'm almost up to. I still am a little bit behind. And before we go on a regular schedule with these, I needed to not have too much in the rear mirror still to process.
Okay.
And if someone has a few questions there, and now we have a few minutes, and if that was useful, use the links, leave a tip in the coffee jar. That's always very helpful, so that we can actually afford to buy these records for ourselves before they get sold out. Some of them I already pre-ordered actually, but yeah. No, Dory, I hope. Go gradually, but yeah.
Okay, no questions. Then
Louis Golden, no metal minute, but there were 2 metal records today, or deeply metal adjacent at least.
Okay, so then let's call it a day. We're doing a video together on Monday on your channel, right?
Yeah, we're gonna do a little video, a little discussion, a more like free-form discussion with our friend Jonas from Sublime Media, where we're gonna talk about the concept and the idea and the history behind the expression Golden Grail, or Grails, Holy Grails in record collecting.
You're talking about the ambient Max Würden. No, I don't think so, Ryan. But usually, strangely isolated place knows what they are doing, so you might be lucky.
I'll tell you what. Also, that one, Ryan, I don't think it's a real golden. It's more, thankfully, I think it's more like of a like Aspergus piece yellow. That they wanted to do it golden, but there's not that many glittery in it. And this one was released already, and I've read nothing bad about the pressing. I didn't read anything technical about the pressing, but usually when
they know what they are doing when it comes to colored vinyl. They are quite experienced with this stuff. So
yeah, every record is a holy.
almost every. No, but we're talking about the topic. We because there's a lot to say, but not on my channel this time. We are doing it over at Stunties.
Yeah, for those who remember back in the days, me and Michael, we used to do some streams on my channel, some on his, and it's nice to sometimes like even it out. Flaming Groove is a good question. We addressed that in the beginning of the video. If you are buying only one of these records and you can find it in the US, Juno might be a little more expensive. If you want 3 of these, there's a huge chance that Juno is the best place. Because why did we choose Juno? Again, because they have, like, some of these records I discovered elsewhere on places that are quite exclusive. Juno have them as well, because they are basically the biggest one. And because they're the biggest one, or why are they the biggest one? Just because they have the most comprehensive catalog, the most titles, and also usually quantity. Also, what's interesting is that they will tell you how much quantity there is left. If there's very few copies left in their stock, they will tell you when you put it in your basket.
Yeah.
And again, like when you put the records that might interest you in your basket, when you look at the price, it's the price for UK customers. If you're not in the UK, change the country and you will see the real price, which will be much lower.
Yeah, exactly. You have to go and check it up.
And that's the trick.
And
maybe like if you're an experienced customer, you start to realize that. But remember, Michael, when I told you that, like I had discovered that like 3 months ago. And that was really a game changer, because at one point Juno felt a little bit expensive. Everything feels expensive since Brexit, but a lot of these titles, that's the thing also, is a lot of these titles are from European labels, some from the UK. Then of course Juno is 100% gonna be the cheaper. When it's European, they're gonna be part of the cheapest. When it's some exotic country, sometimes it can be, for example, they have a record by a Japanese band that I really want. It is $50, 45 euros. In Japan, it's 30, but it's the same price in the US for that one, actually. So you just have to, if there is like 3, 4, 5 records that caught your eye and your ear on that, I would say that Juno is really the best place, the most logical money-wise, if you're trying to think rational. Thank you, Christopher, for the little coffee. Thank you so much.
Okay. Need to eat.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you very much, Stanti. Thank you all very much. See you soon. I'm quite sure.
Bye-bye.
Bye.